programs that offer professional and cultural opportunities for all students. Since the pandemic began, many students have lost their sense of community and connection. Through this promise, we will support our student businesses and ensure that our students are professionally prepared and exposed to opportunities in their career field. Through one of my initiatives, I began as Mr. Sophomore with the Office of Career Services. We will celebrate cultural days to ensure that student organizations like Zulava and Zula MSA feel included and engaged. My second promise is to ensure the continued excellence of Xavier by developing long-term programs. I plan to work alongside King's, Collegiate 100, and the fraternities here on our campus just to ensure that the men of Xavier have a mentorship program. This program will allow men of Xavier to develop as kings and leaders in and outside of the classroom. In addition, I plan to develop monthly Royal Court meet and greets so students know who represent them. My last promise is to provide opportunities to increase community engagement between Xavier students and alumni within the New Orleans community to further develop mentorship and support. One of the initiatives I plan to ensure for the Royal Court is the Little Mr. and Miss Scholarship Pageant. I also plan to ensure that the Royal Court visits local schools to inspire young children and also lend helping hands to high school students in the college application process. The day of Mr. and Ms. Xavier, just planning homecoming, are now over. As the 7th Mr. Xavier University of Louisiana, I will do programming. Initiatives will be executed and your Royals will truly serve as ambassadors for this great institution. I am crowned, capable, consistent, and I look forward to serving as your 2021-2022 Mr. Xavier University of Louisiana.
All right. We do have a question for Mr. Christopher Lewis from the forum. How do you plan to fully implement your initiatives?
Thank you for that question. How I plan to fully execute my initiatives is using some of the leadership positions that I have right now. As stated in my campaign, I serve as the community manager for XU Leads, which we are totally rebranding XU Leads, the curriculum and the skills taken away. So as my position that goes, I am over established relations between the students and the faculty here and making sure that they know the resources that are on campus. So we will be hosting several workshops throughout the rest of the semester, partnering with other organizations, just to kickstart that off. And I believe as Mr. Xavier, it will reach a larger audience and we will have a bigger turnout.
Thank you. The next question from the forum is for Blaine Turner. Should you be crowned, how would you use your platform to better the school?
So my platform is to bring life back to campus. I think that it's really important to firstly listen to the students, inspire the students, focus on what's important to the student body, and then engage them to participate in what you've come up with for solutions, as what they've told you based on feedback. So that's what I plan to do if crowned.
Thank you.
All righty, next up we have the Miss Xavier candidates. First we have Leah Bishop.
Okay, are we ready? Okay, just making sure. Greetings, Xavierites, or as I prefer to say, hey y'all. She opens her mouth with wisdom and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. Proverbs 31:25. This scripture means the most to me because this is what I choose to embody every day and has enabled me to be the person I am with you all. I choose to always be kind and think of everyone as my friend and mentor. I opened my Miss Freshman Forum speech with this very same scripture and it still applies today. The only difference is this time, I, Leah Bishop from the joyous city of Jackson, Mississippi, and finally vying to be your 85th Miss Xavier University of Louisiana. This campaign season was very unique, so I applaud everyone who put their best foot forward and was able to tough it out because social media is not easy. We can easily be bogged down into comparing ourselves to one another and not feeling like what we do is enough. I am here to reassure you all and my fellow candidates that we are always enough because there is no one else like you in this world. That is what my campaign platform was about. I strive to uplift Xavierites by encouraging everyone to be themselves and stand proud in what makes them an individual. We've made magnificent progress this year as an institution, although I have to be transparent when I say that I feel like we've lost what it means to truly be creative, to be ourselves, and to be real with one another. The Xavierite label has made us feel as though we have to fit a specific mold to be successful or be important on campus. I want to bring the greatness and uniqueness of being a Xavierite back to the forefront. With values such as unique leadership, genuine encouragement, advocating authenticity, choosing happiness and being yourself, I know that the spirit of Xavier will be revitalized in all capacities. Unique leadership means allowing people to be themselves so that they can lead and connect with others who resonate with their specific message. An example would be of me raising money for Sankofa Community Development Center as part of my campaign. I raised $1,118 because I am passionate about New Orleans, which is a place that has brought me tremendous joy. Xavier was my #1 choice, so I learned the mission and strive to fulfill it. Genuine encouragement is uplifting each other in our interests and hobbies. We need to support our Xavier entrepreneurs and influencers and be open to learning from one another instead of competing. After all, we are each other's future. Advocating authenticity is allowing people to be transparent with how they feel and meeting them where they are. We are not perfect robots. Choosing happiness by putting yourself first. Basically, finding the silver lining in the not so great days and be okay with not always being your best, but doing your best. So you will become better. Lastly, be yourself. We are the real queens and kings of Xavier, so let's stand tall in that. To ensure that these values are met next year, here are a few promises I will work diligently to fulfill. I will host a BU pageant to raise money for charity and scholarship money. People will be able to demonstrate what it means to truly be themselves and stand firm in that. I wish to raise more awareness for mental health by having a Green Out Day during the month of May to show solidarity with those who had or currently are struggling with mental health. I also wish to add better plant-based protein options in the CAF. I myself am a pseudo practicing vegan and would love to see the CAF replace some of their pork with better vegan options. I wouldn't advocate for anything that I myself do not have a connection with. And because I have a connection to you all, I will advocate for anything you need. I, Leah Bishop, an experienced campus leader, community servant, and Aquarius with the INFJ personality type, also known as the Advocate, am running to be your 85th Miss Xavier University of Louisiana. With me, let's choose to be ourselves, the real queen and kings of Xavier. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Next we have Kirsten McGowan.
Good evening, everyone. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Kirsten McGowan, and I am vying to be your 85th Miss Xavier University of Louisiana. Now, some of you may be wondering what exactly made me decide to run for this position. And the first thing that comes to mind is love. Love for Xavier, love for my fellow Xavierites, and love for what we stand for as a collective unit. You see, we aren't just your typical college students. We are pioneers, artists, innovators, and most of all, leaders. We all have distinct positions in Xavier's community. Now, I personally may not be an exceptional artist or creative, but I can say that I found my home as a servant leader both on Xavier's campus and in my community. My first real position in leadership came in the spring of 2019 when I joined the Peer Dean Association. Now, anyone who knows anything about peer deans knows that we have a lifetime supply of energy and dance moves. But more than anything, PDA has taught me how to be relentless. No matter how many times you are deterred, you always keep pushing, especially when you represent others. In addition to being a peer dean, I also was elected to be the sophomore class vice president, where I learned the importance of hosting programs that are innovative, but also can reach your target audience exactly where they are. And last but not least, being Miss Junior taught me that in the midst of the storm, the best thing you can do as a student leader is to become grounded in your faith and continue to advocate for those you represent to the best of your abilities. And that is exactly what I did. In the midst of a pandemic, I ensured that I advocated for Xavier rights in every space I occupied. As an RA, I hosted programs that ranged from embracing your natural hair to providing packages for students during midterms, and even a movie night to give us a little chance to, relax. Mr. Junior and I hosted a COVID talk to allow students to explain their COVID college experiences and really give them the space to know that they were heard and their voices mattered. And there are dozens of programming ideas that you guys have yet to see. And if I am chosen to be your 85th Miss Xavier University of Louisiana, I will bring that same energy. It won't be the Kirsten show where I'm making decisions to benefit myself instead of the entire student body, because that's not what this position is about. Instead, it will be a constant effort to create spaces like Advocate XU or AXU, a council composed of undergraduate students, pharmacy students, and students from various graduate programs on campus to identify and aid issues that each class is experiencing. This program's primary purpose is to ensure that students have some type of support system, because at one time or another, we've all felt like we had no one to turn to. Or Student Spotlight, which would serve as a platform where our accomplishments can be recognized for all Xavierites to see. These are just glimpses of all the plans that I have in store for this institution if I am elected to serve as your 85th Miss Xavier University of Louisiana. Now that I've explained my why behind running for the position, you're probably wondering why you should vote for me. And the answer is that I am relentless in my pursuit. I refuse to let anyone silence the voice of myself or the student body. The programs I've implemented over the last 3 years and my constant effort to ensure that Xavierites are the #1 priority to our university is what makes me different. Lastly, regardless of if I am elected to serve in this position, I will still possess that same love for this institution, my fellow Xavierites, and the work will not stop. I'd encourage all of you to vote me, Kirsten McGowan, as your 85th Miss Xavier University of Louisiana, so we can continue to rise together. Thank you.
Thank you for a great speech. We do have a question for both candidates. What do you do now to impact your school for the better? What do you do now to impact your school for the better? And we can start with Ms. Bishop.
So can you guys see me? Okay. So what I did for my school, it kind of shows in the campaign. I know it doesn't seem like it directly affects Xavier, but if anything, I showed how Xavier is part of the community, how we are fulfilling our mission. As a Xavierite myself, I am fulfilling the mission of what it means to be a part of Xavier. And I pulled other Xavierites in that with donations. I've also donated to CSA, that's also doing a donation. So it's kind of like we learn from each other. We can grow with each other, and that's how what I'm doing for my school now, putting us on the map. Thank you.
Ms. McGowan.
My audio was going in and out, so can you repeat it, the question?
Sure. So what do you do now to impact your school for the better?
One thing that I do for Xavier that I feel just rings true is just to be myself. I feel that I can't, impact others or even impact the community that I serve if I'm trying to be someone else. I always have to stay true to myself and ground myself in my faith. And in doing so, I try to follow the steps that God has written for me. And that's really the best way I feel that I can, support and contribute to Xavier's community.
Thank you. We have another question. How do you feel that you will contribute to the legacies of embodying Miss Xavier? How do you feel that you will contribute to the legacies of embodying Miss Xavier? And we can start with Ms. Bishop.
I feel like I can contribute to the legacy because I've always been personable, kind, and respectful to others. I don't believe anyone could ever say that I've done anything to hurt them, harm them, or anything of that nature. And so contributing to that legacy, I am always a friend. I'm always a mentor. I'm always a mentee, a sister in a family. So with that, that's how I feel I can contribute to the legacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McGowan?
Yes, so Miss Xavier has literally been a long line of servant leaders to Xavier University. And the biggest thing I feel that I can do to contribute to that legacy is just to continue to put my work ethic into full drive, making sure that I'm implementing programs and initiatives that truly do, relate to our students and our Xavierites. And I also wanted to make sure that in doing so, I'm making sure that I'm actually receiving you all's message. I'm not just, doing what I want to do. And in addition to that, the biggest thing I feel that I can do to keep, the legacy alive is to really reimagine the role. The 75th Miss Xavier and the 85th Miss Xavier will not have the same responsibilities because we're living in a different time. Therefore, we really would have to open our eyes and make sure that we're being cognizant of what's going on and making sure that we're really listening to each other.
Thank you. Final question. How specifically do you plan to engage students in your events during COVID? And we can start with Ms. Bishop.
So, like a few of my promises, the BU pageant can happen online. We figured out how to get everything online, so I don't see this being any different. Showcasing talent, saying speeches, really showing what it means to be yourself. And a green out day, well, we can always just take pictures and blast a hashtag. It's raising awareness, whether virtually or in person, regardless of how we get it done, it's going to get done. So, whatever you guys suggest, we'll make it happen.
Thank you. Ms. McGowan?
Yes, over the span of the last year or so, I have been in so many different positions where I've had to program, virtually. And it is one of the biggest, obstacles I've really ever faced when it comes to leadership. So one thing that I believe that really works is just to understand my audience. So I know that Xaviers are huge on service. So, that means really advocating for us to have in-person service, even though it might be smaller groups instead of the larger groups that we typically have, that's fine with me. If that means that we need something, virtually to showcase all of the different talents and, accomplishments that our Xavierites have, that's fine with me. So really just understanding what we need as a student body and then creating and tailoring programs to fit our exact needs.
Thank you. No more questions.
For SGA Secretary and Chief Communications Officer, we have a candidate, Brianna Burton.
Good evening, everyone. First off, I'd like to thank you all so much for coming out to this forum tonight. I know as Xavierites, your schedule is extremely busy as it is, so again, thank you. My name is Brianna Burton. I'm a biology pre-med major from Houston, Texas, and I'm running to be your 2021-2022 SGA Secretary. I've been involved in SGA since my freshman year as the secretary for the class of 2022, and I currently serve as your SGA Secretary for the 77th Administration of SGA. Along with being SGA Secretary, my role was fully expanded to Chief Communications Officer. Last year, my primary goal was to emphasize communication and to revitalize the brand of SGA. Soon as we were elected to our positions last year, we hit the ground running. Even when the pandemic hit and throughout the summer, it was endless work and what felt like nonstop meetings. Not only did we meet our expectation of having better communication and improving the brand of SGA, but we exceeded them. We opened up more positions in SGA to allow more students to have leadership opportunities, and we also created the Department of Communications to innovate the way we communicate with the student body. For example, the Department of Communications created monthly video segments called Today in SGA to give students monthly updates of all the initiatives and events happening in SGA. By allowing more students to have leadership opportunities in SGA, it enabled more diversity in leadership and the way we did things in SGA. So next year, I definitely plan on keeping the Department of Communications so they can continue their innovative work for the student body. Notice, none of this was done by myself, of course. None of this will be possible without my team members, directors, and board members that I work so closely with. In this position, it's important to remember that it's not about myself, but it's about the students. The pandemic did make things much harder, but we still achieved our goals and persevered through it all. I've said it since my freshman year, and I'll say it again. This position is way more than just a title. You have to be willing to do the work for your fellow students and not for yourself. There are going to be some long nights of planning and having meetings with administrators while still being a student in it all, but at the end of the day, results speak for themselves. Thank you all and have a wonderful night.
Next, we have our SGA Treasurer candidate, Jordan Hunter.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Camille Hunter, and I'm a junior biology major hailing from the city of Monroe, Louisiana. I come before you today vying to be your 2021-2022 Student Government Association's treasurer. Why do I believe I am the best candidate for the job? Well, let me tell you all a little about myself. Last spring, I applied for the position of SGA Director of Academic Affairs, but I was not selected. This did not bruise my ego nor ruin my SGA aspirations. I let my application and hard work ethic speak for itself, and I was appointed to the position of the 2020-2021 SGA Senate Clerk. As Senate Clerk, my responsibilities have included keeping official meeting records of the Student Senate, record all bills and resolutions passed at Senate meetings, and so much more. I'm sorry, somebody called me. Okay. Not only have I had the esteemed pleasure of serving as SGA Senate Clerk, but I was also appointed to be one of the 2 student representatives on the VPAA Planning Council. There, I was able to be an advocate for my fellow Xavierites and push for policies that would keep my peers' best interests at heart. Having gained so much knowledge for my involvement with SGA as Senate Clerk and VPAA as a student representative, my interests have led me to the executive board of SGA. During my campaign, most of you all might have seen me introduce myself to you all as the Money Fairy: fair, attentive, inquisitive, reliable, and yearning. Why is it important for a treasurer to be fair? In order to provide a proactive and cohesive environment, bias must be absent. Why is it important for a treasurer to be attentive? The responsibilities of a treasurer are demanding and therefore require an immense amount of attention. Why is it important for a treasurer to be inquisitive? With our new normal and constantly changing environment, it is imperative to find solutions to ensure the job is done despite the circumstances. Why is it important for a treasurer to be reliable? If elected as your SGA treasurer, I can assure that I will adhere to my duties as they are described in the SGA's Constitution in a very timely fashion. I am yearning to be all of these for you. Thank you.
All right. Do have a question for you. So what issues do you hope to address if elected to this position?
One issue that I would like to tackle is that as college students, we are prepared to take on our field and to take on higher education, but we are not prepared for the real world in terms of money. I'm not sure about you all, but being in college has definitely taught me the value of money, but it's not taught as much amongst us. So I would like to implement maybe something monthly, bi-weekly, not really sure yet, it would depend on my schedule, where we teach financial literacy to our students.
Thank you.
Next, we have SGA Vice President candidates, and we will be starting off with Malia Batiste. Malia, you can begin your opening speech. I think you're on mute.
Thank you. Greetings, Xavierites. Before I begin, I would like to start with a prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us all to gather here safely tonight. I ask that you grant everyone on this Zoom the spirit of discernment as they hear the candidates' speeches. Guide us in your path as we are here for your glory and your will. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Now let's get started. My name is Malia Batiste, a junior biology pre-medicine major from New Orleans, Louisiana, and I am vying to be your next Student Government Association Vice President. Not only am I a cheetah-licious diva, but I am a leader ready to advocate for you. On our illustrious campus, I currently serve as Commuter Student Network President, Junior Class Treasurer, Mobilization and Outreach 2.0 Project Coordinator, Community Health Ambassador, and Assistant of Community Outreach. With these positions, I have not only upheld the mission of promoting a just and humane society, but I have worked tirelessly to ensure that the student needs and wants of the population are met. Throughout my campaign, I stressed the importance of strut, fate, world. As an executive board member, I know what it's like to not be represented. I'm sorry, I skipped a lot. It is my mission to represent all students and organizations on Xavier's campus. As an executive board member of a small organization, I know what it's like to be overshadowed by the larger organizations, not only fiscally, but publicly. I overcame this obstacle by not only making sure the needs of the commuters were met, but that our work was advocated for. I also focus on the importance of transparency. SGA is for the people, so there's no reason that members of its organizations do not know what's going on. This is why I will implore the importance of attending student body meetings and Senate meetings so they know exactly what's going on. The importance of emphasizing attending these meetings is the reason, sorry, not sure what happened. The importance of attending these meetings will ensure that transparency is met. As SGA Vice President, I plan to promote self spaces to enhance student life. It is finally time for us to address the mental health, especially in the new world of COVID-19. We all had to quickly adapt to this new lifestyle, and we not only talked about how it affected us mentally, but emotionally. This is why I plan to implement monthly feedback forms to ensure that I not only hear your concerns, but address them. I am not a leader of words, but a woman of action. Our university is at a critical point where proactive and organized leaders are needed. It is now time for you to choose those leaders to represent you. I'm asking you to trust in me so we can have a successful year. Xavier writes, it's fate for me to be your next Student Government Association Vice President as we strut into this new world. Thank you all for taking your time out to join us tonight. Again, my name is Malia Baptiste, and don't forget to vote this Cheetah-licious queen Monday morning for this next Student Government Association Vice President.
Our next candidate is Muna Ugo.
Yeah, okay. Hello, everyone. So my name is Muna Ugo, and I'm running for the position of SGA Vice President. You know, I'm sure we've all heard some great speeches today, but I'm not here to give a speech. Rather, I'm here to tell a story of a 17-year-old starting his college career. And, you know, coming to Xavier was a life-changing experience, especially from the perspective of an international student. I came with a shy mentality and a constant fear of not being, accepted or seeing people I'm used to. But I tell you, from the first day I stepped on campus, met peer deans, resident assistants, and the general student body, I could tell this was going to be different because of this strong family community that made me feel, oh, you might be an international student, but you're also family. And I'd love to continue to maintain that community because that's what has sustained me. At the beginning of my sophomore year, in the midst of a global pandemic where there was so much uncertainty, I decided to return to Xavier. As the semester went on, I saw fellow students voice their concerns, express themselves, and ask questions as they should, with their questions and concerns varying from a wide variety of things. For the freshmen, it was how do we get the college experience and succeed with all that's going on? Or the seniors concerned about their future after Xavier, or students about GPA requirements, pass-fail options, library hours, having events on campus. And don't get me wrong, I shared some of these questions and concerns myself. As the sophomore class vice president, in my own little way, I began to advocate for the student body and brainstorm ways to serve the students and alleviate their concerns. It was this passion and desire to want to help that made me decide to run for SGA vice president. And trust me, this decision was no easy one because I understood and understand the responsibilities of the position. I began thinking, what do I want to do and what can I do for the student body? It was then the word innovate came to mind. You must be wondering why innovate? Is it another big word? No. Well, because to innovate means to make changes in something established by introducing new methods and ideas. We all know Xavier is a traditional university, rooted in deep tradition. So it's going to be hard to establish things, but rather it's about making changes to the establishment and bringing new ideas to make these changes and new ideas of the changes to be made. Changes such as making sure professors return grades in a timely manner, advocating for and including international and community students in SGA events, exploring mental health, sexual health, and personal hygiene resources for students, ensuring students are heard by establishing monthly Senate listening sessions with students to help tailor legislation, and above all, which is our job, fiercely advocating for the student body. Now remember, I said I'm not here to make a speech. Some of you might think otherwise, but rather tell a story that hopefully shows you why this 17-year-old, now 18, is the right person to advocate for the student body as SGA Vice President. Well, this is my story, and thanks for listening.
All right, thank you, guys. We do have a question for Malia. How do you plan to represent diverse and minority groups on campus? And what makes you qualified to do so?
Thank you for this question. So my platform of World really consisted of representing all diverse cultures on our campus. I know that Xavier is an HBCU, but that is not, Black students are not the only students that we have. So I plan to represent all our cultures by making sure that when people pull up the Xavier website, they not only see Black people, but they see our Chinese, Hispanic, white Americans as well. I just want to make sure that all cultures are on our campus are represented equally. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Malia. And for Muna, how will you incorporate the mission of Xavier in your reign or position?
The mission of Xavier, we understand, is promoting a more just and humane society and creating leaders that can, serve in positions of leadership. And I believe doing that is making sure that we establish in the sophomore class council, we established a public relations team. We're giving students the chance, the ability, and the direct line to be able to serve in positions of leadership. And so in my position of SGA Vice President, I will make sure that students have the opportunity to serve. And our job is advocating for the students so they can have that Xavier experience. And when they graduate, they take something other than academics, more than academics with them.
Thank you.
Next to present will be the SGA President candidates, and we will start with Larry Mason. Larry Mason's just having a little trouble, but he's coming.
How y'all doing? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, there's a little bit of an echo.
Okay, fixing it right now. All right. How y'all doing today? My name is Larry Mason Jr. Before I begin, I just want to let you all know something that I personally think just about being an SGA president is you have to be able to be authentic. You have to be able to be relatable. So today I'm going to keep it real with y'all. I'm going to let y'all know how I'm feeling. I'll let y'all know what I think about being the SGA president, things that I want to do. So with that being said, my name is Larry Mason Jr. and I am a junior public health sciences pre-medicine major from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm also a first-generation college student. With that in mind, you may know me as the Mobilization at Xavier 2.0 president, or your community health ambassador, or the Men on the Move project coordinator, or the Peer Dean Planning Committee student coordinator for community initiatives. You may also know me as the Pet Awareness with Students project coordinator, class of 2022 public relations team leader, community health ambassador, NIH Bill research student, and the list goes on. So with that in mind today, I'm gonna tell you all about why I feel that I should be the best person for the SGA president position or student government association. So before I begin, let's talk about advocacy loading. Advocacy loading is not just a campaign, it's a movement. It's something that I feel, it's something that I align strongly with, and it's something that regardless of if I win or lose, it's gonna get done. It's something that I've been doing since I came to Xavier, and something that I'm going to continue to do after I leave Xavier. So let's talk about where it came from. Let's talk about what advocacy means to me. So for me, advocacy is not just saying, okay, I'm the voice for the voiceless. Advocacy to me is about being able to empower others to be able to advocate, because at the end of the day, the work that we do together is so much more, so much better, so much more quality than the work that we can get done individually. So advocacy to me is being able to say, okay, I see that you have concerns. I'm going to empower you to utilize those concerns. I'm going to empower you to be able to advocate for yourself, advocate, and now we're going to advocate together. And now you can go on and you can continue passing those skills. So that way, I'm not just advocating for you. I'm not being your voice for the voiceless, but now you're able to go into situations. You're able to go into positions of leadership and service in a global society, and you're actually able to succeed. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit more about advocacy. Advocacy is not just about, like I said, being the voice for the voiceless. It's about passing the mic. So what we're going to do next year, we're going to pass the mic. We're going to let people who have experiences within these different concerns, we're going to let them speak. We're going to empower them to do the work, so that way we can do the work together, we can collaborate. And then finally, we're going to make sure that we are acknowledging the privilege and the empowerment that lies within advocacy. So I've talked about my platform, but let's talk about the initiative. Let's talk about the work that's going to get done. So the biggest thing that I have noticed within, and some of you have probably noticed this as well, is whenever something happens on our campus, the first thing that we do is we say, oh, let's tweet about this. Oh, they said that the opposite of love is indifference. And those are completely fine, because at the end of the day, that's the way that we feel that we can have our voices heard. So the biggest thing being able to advocate and being within this initiative of advocacy loading is really being able to establish and get rid of that Twitter charged atmosphere. You should be able to trust your SGA. That way you can actually know that the work is getting done. You should be able to say, okay, this happened to me. For one, I know that you're not going to tell somebody, because we have a small campus, you all. And for two, I know that you're going to get the work done, and you're going to empower me to get the work done. The next thing that I like to do is basically establishing support groups. So this goes within my platform: advocacy, social justice, inclusion, and empowerment. So with our support groups, I personally, let's see. So about a year ago, I actually lost my father to COVID-19. With this, I had friends who were able to support me, but I didn't have anyone who knew exactly what was going on with me. I didn't have anyone who said, okay, Larry, this happened to me too. Let's talk about it. So I felt like at the time I needed a support group. And I feel like that's the biggest thing within this campaign, is being able to have a community of people who align with different values that you have. When people step foot on campus, there should be an organization or a support group for everyone. And we're going to establish that. And the biggest motto that I have is going to be able to create, to strengthen, and to sustain. So we're going to create these organizations and these support groups. We're going to strengthen our organizations to make sure that they're fulfilling our mission. At the end of the day, whether you're the Caribbean Student Association, MAX 2.0, our ultimate goal is to be able to promote a more just and humane society. And finally, we're going to sustain. So with our sustainability plan, we're going to make sure that we're doing things that we can see next year, as well as we can see 10 years down the line. So these are so important. And finally, just being able to hold myself accountable and your SGA accountable. So you should be able to say, okay, I see this is not happening. You said that you were going to do this. What's going on? And it shouldn't be an attitude. It shouldn't be anything in that aspect. It should be, okay, thank you for bringing this up to me. I'm going to make sure that it happens. And I'm also going to CC you on those emails. So finally, just in that aspect, I just want to make sure that to communicate, that communication is key within this position. As you all know, SGA president is not just a position for a sole entity. SGA president is for the, so you should be able to advocate for the people. You should be able to empower the people, so that way y'all can get the work done together. And at the end of the day, something that the biggest thing is being able to have a sustainable change. So with that in mind, we're going to make sure that we are making sustainable plans. We're doing things that, okay, this might affect us this year, but it's also going to affect us 10 years down the line. It's going to affect class of 22. It's going to affect class of 23. And it's also going to affect class of 32. So with that being said, I just want to go ahead and wrap up, let you all know that regardless, win or lose, the work will get done, because at the end of the day, we are advocacy voting. So thank you all so much for hearing me. And I look forward to any questions.
Thank you, Larry. Sorry about that. We did let him go over time, just to let everyone know. Our next candidate will be Emmanuel Ucott.
All righty, can everybody hear me? we should be good. All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Emmanuel Ukad, and I've had the privilege of serving as your SGA president this year. And it's been an exceptional year, both in a good way and in a pretty uncomfortable way, right? We had a year that before elections even concluded last year, we were swept away back into our homes because of COVID-19. And here we are nearly a year later from when we first left here, and we're still in the throes of it. But through that, we've been able to do so much. Last year, when I came to the student body, I said that I wanted to elevate XU, that I wanted you to see the change, feel the change, and be the change. And one thing I can say is, as much as this year has tried it, we tried. And we did the best we can. And what I can tell you is there's some things we've done. And so what are some of the things we've done so far? Well, I did say we were going to host programming, but our programming is strategic, which is why we hosted our 2 fall diversity talks. We had our SGA Wellness Day, which happened last semester, our fall town hall, which everybody knows about that one. We had our Ben H with SGA as well. But we did restore our judicial branch because impartiality is extremely important when you're in student government association. And what I promised last year was that I would restore the judicial branch, and we were able to get that done. We also revamped SGA, as you heard Brianna Burton say, as a secretary and now the secretary and chief communications officer, because it's important that you have an organization that is doing their best. And that means we need to look our best and be at our best at all times. We completely revamped our online presence to show you this is what we're about. Whether you are in person or virtual, you get an experience like no other. We also implemented a new ticketing system with XUPD. So if you had a boot on your car before, but you had that decal that you're supposed to buy, you no longer get a boot on your car first. You get at least, I think, 3 tickets, and you only pay $25, and you have till the end of the semester. We're students first, but it's because we put ourselves in that conversation. We had so many other things we've done, like renovating the SGA office, establishing our Department of Communications, creating over 60 new positions, completely expanding SGA in that way, increasing funding through our increased student activity fee for organizations all across our campus, from IOC organizations to finally having money for our Senate, our Judicial Council, our election board. Y'all have great t-shirts. I see your polos. Max 2.0 had an increase of around $13,000. We had Homecoming that had an increase of $40,000+. XIB had an incredible increase of over $20,000 as well, because we need to put money into the places that matter to the students. In the same way, you might notice for anyone running for Mr. or Miss now, you are no longer required to pay a fee when you enter your position, because we completely wiped that away. Everybody should have the opportunity to run for a position and to completely flourish when they're in it. We also signed a brand new constitution into law and multiple other bills to show you that we are about what we say we're going to do. And even though those things are internal, it is much more than that. And the biggest thing we were able to do this year, last semester, which wasn't even our main goal, but one thing that we do is whenever something comes up that the students need, we tackle that immediately. And so I worked directly with President Ferret and his cabinet to permanently lower our scholarship GPA requirement from a 3.3 to a 3.1, which was something we were working for over 6 years on, but never reached his desk because we did not have someone who was fighting for us at the top and speaking strategically to those who can get something done. We were able to do that this year. We were able to elevate this year, even in the midst of a pandemic and 5 hurricanes. But what is the plan next year? The plan next year is to apply pressure. Why apply pressure? We elevated already. We know what to do. But my job is not to loosen up on the gas. My job is to continue pushing forward and to apply a bit of pressure to some more things that I see that we need to do. The biggest thing that caused me to run for president is that we accomplished every single goal we said we were going to do in 1 semester. So when you finish your goals, what do you do next? Well, the job of a president is to constantly and consistently be looking out for things that concern the student body. And that's what I did, and that's what I'm continuing to do, and that's what I will continue to do as a president next year. There are 4 different points that I want to touch on that are in my vision. One of it is to increase collaboration with our student organizations, advocate in academics, tackle our health and safety, and bolster communication. When it comes to increasing collaboration with our orgs, we need to definitely recognize more of our student organizations on campus, but we also need to get feedback from you. A feedback-oriented system is crucial to making sure that we're bettering our approach and the university's approach to student concerns. I did share, I think there was something about me going to the Board of Trustees meeting that's happening this week. There are a lot of concerns that I brought up on behalf of the students that I did last semester and that we do all the time. We have quarterly Board of Trustees meetings, but that is how I'm able to get your concerns across the table, not just within this university, but even to the ones that run it. We also need to restructure our finance system. If you notice, we are still sitting here with no budget. I have a problem with that. Even though we have a rollover budget, right, there are some things that are out of our power that I have to liaise with different university vice presidents across the university to say this is an issue and how can we fix it. And being that we're almost a month in, over a month in now without a budget, that's something I had to bring up to the Board of Trustees to fix. And thankfully I'm getting a meeting this week. But the fact of the matter is I had to apply pressure to get what we needed to get done. When it comes to the IOC, I want to expand the IOC to include leadership development, which is something that we are already implementing this semester. And on our Monday meeting, we're having some leadership development workshops there. And we're also going to continue to diversify leadership positions. One thing about me is I don't do cliques, I don't do monopolizing. And so one thing that I did when I came in was to make sure that everybody had a fair shot at taking a leadership position, but at the same time, we are empowering those around us to take those positions as well. I cannot do everything, which is why we had an exceptional team that has helped us with every single one of those goals that we hit. It's because of the 60 plus new positions that I opened up that we were able to establish the Department of Communications and rebrand SGA. And we have so many creative people in our DOC, our Department of Communications. We have so many people focused on impartiality in our judicial branch. Our election board is an election board. And we're able to get so many things done. Thank you. And so the biggest thing for me is making sure that I continue to advocate for you in all spaces that we occupy, because without you, there's no reason why we can do what we do. So I encourage you to consider voting Emmanuel Ucott for your SG president so we can continue to elevate XU with a bit of pressure. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. It's a great speech. We do have a question from the forum for both candidates. Question says, other than SGA, what organization are you involved in that can help you relate to the student body and working with administration? We can start with Mr. Mason Jr.
Hi, y'all. Thank y'all so much for the question. So the position that I actually hold, I actually hold various positions on campus, but the position that I think kind of helps me relate with the students the most is my position within mobilization at Xavier 2.0. So I think whenever we talk about the students, we should also talk about the community. So being able to advocate for the students in the community, I've actually been able to do this within my role as mobilization at Xavier 2.0 president. We've done various different things. We've actually expanded our organization to actually create more leadership positions to actually embody social awareness. So our actual mission expanded this year to being able to incorporate social justice, social inclusion, and social advocacy. So these are things that are so important that allow me to relate to students because service is such a big part of our school. So students come to service all of the time. We have service Saturdays, we have program service, and I'm actually able to connect with them. I'm actually able to see the students, whether that be through serving them lunch or whether that be through doing different things. So these all allow me to relate with students, and I feel like that's the best thing, as well as being able to incorporate the feedback portion of Max 2.0. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. Mr. Huckert.
Yes, so for me, obviously, being the Student Government Association president, that's what I do. The biggest thing for me being in this position is I could not, right, be in other positions in different organizations because I had to be focused on advocating for every single organization, but specifically the students to empower our organizations. And so that's what I do right now. But going back to freshman year, I was involved in the African Student Union. I was their creative media chair, so I helped create their website and some other things there. I also had a community committee that I was over. I was also the freshman class treasurer, and then I ran for sophomore class president. And when I won that, I was the president of the council, and we worked there as well. We did some incredible things like expanding into different committees. We had the events team and the PR team that we created, and we had over 50 people in both of those teams. And that's how we see now that type of setup where every single class council now has class committees because of the work that our sophomore class council did, the great work they did to make sure that we show people what we can do. And then now my junior year, I'm part of SGA, right? I'm the SGA president. And again, we're able to work with everybody to expand SGA and to show not only do we have leadership positions, but we have member positions for people to see how it is first before they go into that leadership position. So for us, we operated solely on our mission to show students that we advocate for every student, but we definitely want to make sure that we are using our experiences prior, which both of us have, to inform what we do now.
All right, thank you. The next question is for Mr. Mason Jr. How do you plan to handle the demands of SGA presidency along with your other leadership commitments on campus?
So thank y'all for that question. Currently, I'm in a few positions as of right now. But as we transition into the next school year, I plan to focus my attention to Student Government Association. But I do think that my experiences within these organizations will allow me to better cater towards my smaller organizations, better cater towards our big 5 organizations, so that way we can create, strengthen, and sustain. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. Next question to Mr. Hookert. What will you do for the students' body as far as events and keeping COVID-19 in mind?
Yeah, so when it comes to events and keeping COVID-19 in mind, if you have kept SGA, if you've even tuned into SGA, you might have seen a lot of new things we've done, like Today in SGA, which is a virtual kind of web show we do, Malia Mayweather, our vice president, and I, to keep students informed. But we've passed new bills to allow for things such as executive orders, memoranda, so that we can be able to, on paper, affect changes within our areas. And so one of the things I've done is I've released, I believe, 2 executive orders this semester, which kind of it directs how we do things in SGA. The biggest thing for me is making sure that we do not have COVID cases, which is why we've had 0. Right? We've had absolutely 0. We've had a mixture of virtual and in-person events. We've had more virtual because of the height of COVID. And coming in, we're transitioning back into more in-person events as the cases go down. But one thing I will do, and one thing I'm a stickler about, especially being that I meet with President Ferret constantly about it, and he's an epidemiologist, is making sure that we keep our cases low within the student body. But when it comes to SGA, as the examples, I don't expect any COVID cases. When it comes to next year, though, we need to go back into in-person programming. At that point, hopefully we're going to reach herd immunity by July, which is what I'm hoping for. And so the goal is that when we do come back, we have a mixture of in-person and virtual events, but more in-person events with virtual components, so that we have people who are here on campus who can still have that community. And so how we're going to do that is, of course, by employing COVID-19 guidelines and making sure that we're expanding our areas of use. And that's how we're going to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Final question for both candidates. In what ways do you feel SGA is flawed, if any, and how do you intend to fix it? We'll start with Mr. Mason Jr.
Hi, y'all. So before I begin, I would like to say SGA has actually done a wonderful job. I do respect all of the work that they have actually done this school year to actually make sure that they were doing the best for students. So I'm not a person to actually down on anybody because I feel like there's always room for growth. So I think areas that SGA is able to grow in are actually able to be trusted by the student body. Kind of like how I talked about in my speech, we want to make sure that we're getting rid of and eliminating that Twitter charged atmosphere. We want to make sure that when we talk about these important topics that we have to navigate through as college students, such as sexual assault, such as alcohol usage, students should be able to trust their SGA. And I think that's the biggest thing that we can grow within SGA. So thank y'all for that question.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. Mr. Hookert?
Yes, sir. Well, I think we did a great job as well. I think when it comes to things such as Twitter, it's great that we have an outlet for students to use. And that's why when things do go on Twitter, we definitely attack it straight up and say, we're going to get on that. And when it comes to sexual assault, we have the Sexual Misconduct Peer Health Educators Program that is led by Ms. Jennifer Bodner, who's the Director of Violence Prevention, Education, and Advocacy. And so we've definitely tried in those areas to empower students to take the leadership there, but also making sure we're still tackling the issues. When it comes to things that we can do better, we have definitely organized much better this year. However, there is still a need for more people. I think we need more people in leadership in the IOC, not just in terms of coming to the meetings and being an org president, but we need a better infrastructure for communicating information in the IOC. Also, our financial system here at Xavier is not the best, and I'm being completely transparent about that. We can do much better, which is why I'm finally meeting with fiscal services, because we deserve better. Organizations who are not the big 5, right, and don't have a huge rollover need support. And there's only so far that we can go as SGA, but trust when I say when we do get to the edge of that cliff, we're going to push as hard as we can to get what we deserve as students. And so that's something we need to fix for sure. And I'm hoping that we can install a Department of Finance within SGA to handle processing. Organizations such as Max 2.0 or XAB, they have the treasurers, but everything goes through one treasurer, and that's the SGA treasurer. And we got to make sure that we have support in that area to make sure that these organizations get their stuff back in time when it comes to finances so that the students can benefit from it. Thank you.
All right, thank you both.
All right, that was all of our SGA candidates. And now we will move on to our PSA candidates. We will start with Miss College of Pharmacy, a candidate, Jada Taylor.
Hello, how are you guys? One second. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jada Taylor, and I'm a current P3 at Xavier University's College of Pharmacy, and I'm running for Miss College of Pharmacy. Right now, I serve as president of the Alpha Nu chapter of Kappa Epsilon Professional Pharmaceutical Fraternity, and I also had the honor of serving as Miss P2 for the 2019 to 2020 school year. I'm here today to tell you what an honor it would be to serve as 2020's Miss College of Pharmacy. Throughout my time here in the pharmacy program, I have expanded my horizons, stepped up into leadership positions, and made lifelong friends. I've always looked up to the women who have served as Miss College of Pharmacy. To me, Miss College of Pharmacy represents a leader who is well-rounded, professional, and graceful. My platform, Faith, Focus, and Finish, actually stems from a phrase my grandpa coined when I first began pharmacy school. I'm originally from New Jersey, so I'm a long way from home and a long way away from my family. So that phrase always kind of grounds me when I'm having tough times. Number one is we must have faith in ourselves and our aspirations. Number two, we must remain focused on our goals and prioritize accordingly. And number three, we must finish whatever we start and, finish the course. If given the opportunity to serve as Miss College of Pharmacy, I promise to lead with grace and humility and always to uphold the highest of standards. Thank you for your time today and this opportunity to present my platform.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. I do have a question. What makes you different from any other candidates running for this position?
Well, I know the other two candidates very very closely, and I think they also would be excellent leaders. But aside from that, I would say that experience has kind of given me not a step up, but more, experience in stepping into a leadership role. As president, I have a lot on my plate, and we're always everything's a moving piece in pharmacy school. So time management and just adapting, but I think I would be an excellent leader in this role.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
All right, next up, we will have a video of Carrie Bailey for Vice President.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carrie Bailey. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, and running for 2021 to 2022 PSA Vice President. My slogan is, "Don't vote for me, vote for us." And this simply means as PSA Vice President, I want to include the College of Pharmacy as a whole in decision making. I feel that working together as a collective is always better than working alone. I believe that incorporating everyone's ideas and decisions is better for all of us. One idea I have is to implement an ideal box in the lobby, and at the beginning of each month collect concerns and opinions from the P1s to P4 classes on what they would like to have implemented in the College of Pharmacy. I will collect the box each month so I can send out a newsletter to each class discussing on what would they like to have incorporated and changed throughout the College of Pharmacy. Based on a collaborative decision, I will begin to address and construct resolutions to fix those issues. Secondly, I would like to bring unity throughout the College of Pharmacy, not just amongst our class, but amongst the P1 through P4 classes. I know COVID has hindered this process, so one of the suggestions I came up with was to have a virtual schedule mixer with all the classes. This mixer would allow everyone to get to know each other, people from other classes to gain friendships that could continue to grow as we matriculate through the College of Pharmacy. This mixer would not only be a way everyone to get to know each other, but the opportunity to build a strong mentor and mentee relationship. Having this mixture will be a great opportunity to bring unity among everyone in the College of Pharmacy and allow an exchange of helpful information among peers, even to just provide encouragement to one another. As pharmacy school is so stressful and difficult at times, I acknowledge that therefore we are all casting your votes on when you are casting your votes on Thursday and Friday. Do not think of me as Carrie Bailey, just another vice president candidate, but rather as a colleague who is strongly desired to hear and become your voice. So don't vote for me, vote for us.
Alrighty, our last presenter today will be running for PSA president, Jalen Stepter.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jalen Stepter. I am from Jacksonville, Florida, and I am currently a P2 in the College of Pharmacy. My current leadership positions right now are the Vice President of the class of 2023, along with the co-chair of the APHA Operation Heart organization. So my goal as PSA president is to build a more active and cohesive community for the entire College of Pharmacy. I've come to realize that being committed in the field of pharmacy is one of the most important duties of a student or practitioner. Commitment to our pledge not only involves dedication to our studies, but also presenting oneself in a professional manner, upholding ethical principles, and advocating for pharmacy. I believe this is vital because as future pharmacists, we must learn to cohesively work together professionally, even through our differences. Now, how will we do this? First, I believe that one of the most important skills for any leadership position is effectively communicating. Effective communication requires a willingness to listen. I will do so by involving the students in the College of Pharmacy and collaborating with the other members of the executive team. I will make every effort to ensure that events are advertised timely, diverse ideas are shared, and praise is awarded for above and beyond involvement. Secondly, I will promote the development of our leadership and professionalism skills through the engagement of leadership retreats available to all students in the College of Pharmacy. I will also strive to implement more community service opportunities to fulfill our mission to impact the medically underserved communities in an effort to eliminate health disparities through patient-centered care, community service, and scholarly work. I look forward to working with my peers, faculty members, and other professionals to discuss the possibilities, the required planning, and the implementation of these projects. In addition, I'm interested in any other ideas that you may present. In conclusion, I want to be your PSA president and serve this community well. I pray that you consider my continued commitment to upholding ethical principles, professionalism, and advocating for pharmacy, as well as to the College of Pharmacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jalen. I do have a question. What do you believe your biggest weakness is as a leader, and how do you plan to improve this if elected?
I would say my biggest weakness as a leader may be sometimes overstretching myself, because I believe there's so many different things that we can accomplish in the College of Pharmacy, and I do plan to implement a lot. So to do this, one thing that I want to do is to implement a leadership retreat. In the College of Pharmacy, there are many retreats for leadership. However, they're more geared towards the actual titled leaders, like vice presidents and presidents. However, when we graduate and leave the College of Pharmacy and be actual pharmacists, we will all be leaders. So I believe that it will be vital to have these retreats for all students. And that is one thing I plan to enact if I was elected president.
Thank you, ma'am.
Alrighty, you guys, that is all we have for today's forum. Thank you all for participating, and I want to say thank you all to the candidates. You all did a great job. Please remember that voting starts March 1st on Monday at 10 a.m. And I hope you guys all have a great evening.